Good afternoon. I'm GFN, Product Manager for Azure Data Share, which is a new service we launched this year, and we just went GA this week. And today, Joanna, thank you. So today, my colleague Joanna and myself will tell you all about B2B data sharing using Azure Data Share. Joanna, why don't you introduce yourself and kick it off?
Thank you, Gia. So I'm Joanna Pogowetsky. I'm another product manager working on Azure Data Share. Super excited to be here today to talk to you about Azure Data Share and its many capabilities. So just to take you through the agenda that we'll be going through today, we're going to start off with some B2B data sharing scenarios and some of the challenges that we know that our customers have been facing when they're faced with the task of sharing data outside of their organization. We'll also be doing an Azure Data Share live demo, so stay tuned. And also we'll talk about how some of our customers are actually implementing data share. So we'll talk through some of the different architectures that we're seeing and some of the patterns that we're seeing for the uptake of this service. So we've been speaking to customers about their data sharing needs for a couple of years now, and we've pretty much spoken to customers in all of the industries that you see up on the screen here about what their data sharing needs are and what they're actually trying to accomplish when they're doing their data sharing. We've spoken to customers in the retail sector, and if you imagine a retailer that's trying to share point of sales data with a number of the suppliers that they stock inventory for, that's a super common use case for retailers, except when they're sharing that data with potentially competing products that you don't want to get the data into the wrong hands, data security and data governance becomes really top of mind for these organizations. So when they're thinking about their data sharing, they want a solution that's going to be secure, be simple, and really be governed as well. We've been speaking to customers in the farming, so if you think of the farming industry, so agriculture, having IoT sensors deployed on farms and being able to access that data without that data getting into the wrong hands. That's another super common scenario. So there's a lot of really good IoT scenarios that we're seeing for Azure Data Share, particularly with organizations that may not necessarily be IoT experts, they may not be analytics experts, but they need to be able to action the data that they're getting. So basically leverage the data that they're receiving and derive insights that are actionable for their business. Healthcare is another very common scenario for data sharing. So if you think about the healthcare industry, they have a need to share quite frequently pretty sensitive data. And they may be collecting data, organizations in the healthcare industry may be collecting data around patient records, or they may be doing drug trials to cure a disease. And they need to be able to easily share the data that they're gathering with third parties, or perhaps have data shared with them that is potentially sensitive. And they also need to be accountable for who they're sharing that data with and how it got there. So these are the types of things that we're trying to solve with this product. Government industry, also a lot of interdepartmental data sharing requirements that we're seeing there, and similarly in all the other industries that you see up on the screen. So I'd love to get a show of hands. Who is actually doing data sharing today? So pretty much this side of the room, a couple of you over there. So I'd love to get another show of hands of who's actually using FTP to share data. SFTP, yes. Okay, SFTP, getting a couple more hands there. Okay, so basically all the customers, pretty much I would say 70 to 80% of the customers that we've been speaking to do their data sharing through some form of FTP. So basically that's their method of choice for doing their data sharing. And what we've been hearing from these customers is that this type of data sharing is not really conducive to big data environments. So when you have to configure stand up an FTP infrastructure, it requires additional maintenance. It's not the most efficient way of sharing data, particularly today, with big data workloads and things like that. Also, when we think about organizations that are standing up API infrastructure to share data, it's not really the most efficient way when you have terabytes and potentially petabytes worth of data to share. API becomes super inefficient. We also spoke to a lot of customers, more than I expected, that are actually extracting their data to USB drives and then sharing it by querying the USB drives to their consumers. So that's not really the most efficient way. It's difficult to track, it's difficult to manage, and it's definitely not suitable for big data. So over to G to talk you through the data share vision.
Thank you, Joanna. So you have heard all the challenges about data sharing from Joanna, and this is exactly why we developed the Azure Data Share service to make cross-organization data sharing B2B super easy and secure from Azure to Azure. So let's take a look at some of the key capabilities of Azure Data Share. So first of all, you can easily share data code-free with just a few clicks. You'll see that in the demo. There's no need to set up any infrastructure. There's no need to ingest data, load it into FTP server, share it, and extract it, and load it into an analytics system. It's super flexible. You can share both structured data and unstructured data from a variety of Azure data sources. Today, we already have support for blob storage, ADLS Gen 2, SQL Data Warehouse, or the new Synapse, as well as SQL Database and Azure Data Explorer. And we're going to continue to add more Azure Data Store in the future. You also have the choice of sharing data via snapshot or in place. So what snapshot is for the data provider to provide a copy of the data from their Azure tenant into data consumer's Azure tenant. And it's ideal for batch processing, or if you already have contract with your partner or customer to provide them with a copy of the data. In-place sharing, in this case, you enable access to your data by reference in your Azure tenant. So how that works is we establish a symbolic link between the provider's data store and the data consumer's data store in a different Azure tenant. So your data consumer can access your data without a physical copy of the data being moved and stored in your data consumer's Azure tenant. And this is ideal if you want to provide data to your partners or customer for real-time analytics scenarios. So the number one thing that's on top of our customers' mind when they're thinking about data sharing is security and control. With Azure Data Share, we talked about two Azure tenants. One of the benefits is there's no exchange of credentials between the data provider and the data consumer. And also, through a single dashboard, you'll be able to manage all your data sharing relationships. You can see what data is shared with which organization and when data leaves your organization. Because the data is shared from Azure to Azure, as I mentioned, you don't have to load it from FTP server into your Azure environment. You can easily connect any Azure analytics tools like Data Factory or Synapse to process your data and derive insights from your data much faster comparing to having your data in an FTP server and then try to load it into Azure. So let's take a look at how data share works. So on the left-hand side, we have, let me see the pointer. Well, on the left-hand side, we have the data provider. They have their source data store in their Azure tenant. And on the right-hand side, we have the data consumer. They have their target data store in their Azure tenant. So the data provider will be the one to initiate the sharing by specify what data they want to share, who they want to share with. They can also specify a terms of use which the data consumer has to agree to prior to receiving data. Also, data provider can specify the mode of sharing, whether it's snapshot or in-place sharing. And once the provider creates the share, Azure Data Share service will facilitate an invitation email to be sent to the data consumer, who will then be able to view and accept the invitation and specify a target data store which they want to receive or access the data. And depending on the sharing mode that's specified by the provider, the data share service will provide either incremental snapshot of the data from the source data store to a target data store, or it will establish the symbolic link to enable data consumer to process and access the data via inline access. So here are some of the supported Azure Data Store today. As you can see here, as a data provider, you can share both structured and unstructured data. As a data consumer, you really have a choice of where you want to receive the data. So let's use the SQL Data Warehouse or Synapse as example. As a data consumer, I can choose to receive a SQL DW table or view into a file like a CSV or Parquet file into my blob storage account, into ADL's Gen 2, or I can receive the table review as a table in my SQL data warehouse as well as my SQL DB. And we have all this information, by the way, in our documentation if you need to refer to later. OK, now we're going to do a demo. So first, I want to explain the demo scenario. A lot of our customers who are looking to do big data analytics, they're implementing this very typical pattern for modern data warehouse. So on the left side, they use Azure Data Factory to ingest data from a variety of data sources through the ADF connectors that are available. And then they analyze the data, use Data Factory or Databricks, and load the result into SQL Data Warehouse or Synapse. And then they can visualize the result, use Power BI. With Azure Data Share, not only you can analyze your own data, but also you can receive data from third party like your partners, for example, and then ingest that data into your data lake. And once the data has been combined with your own data and processed, you can share the semi-processed data or the insights with your partner, again, through Azure Data Share. So in the demo today, we're going to be showing you how to share data into another Azure tenant. So let's switch to the demo. So in this demo, I will pretend to be the data scientist in a company called Consortium Marketplace, and I will be sharing data with Joanna, who's the data scientist in Fabricom. So to share data, first thing you will need is Azure Data Share account. And here I already have a Consortium share that's pre-created. And within my Azure Data Share account, as you can see here is a Send Share section, which have all the shares I have created and shared with other organizations. Also, in the Receive Share section, you see all the shares that you have received from other organizations. And to create a share, first you give it a name. I'm going to share some product data today. You can then specify the type of share, and we're going to do snapshot. And you can fill in a short description and terms of use. For terms of use, it could be anything you want the data consumer to agree to. It can be things like do not share this data outside of your organization. It could be pointing to an existing URL, which has the agreement between you and your data consumer, or it can be referencing to, or refer to an existing contract that you have with your data consumer. So next, I'm going to specify what data I want to share. So I can choose from a variety of Azure Data Store. And first, I'm going to share some data from my SQL Data Warehouse. I'll choose my SQL Server and provide my SQL credential. And here, I just want to point out that we're only using this SQL credential to authenticate into a SQL Server in order to list the tables and views that you want to share. We're not storing your SQL credential in the data share service. So here I have a Consortium Retail data warehouse, and I can share both tables and views. And today I'm going to select a product table. And I can even look at the columns that are in my table. So add data set. Next, I want to also share some folders with Joanna. So within a single share, you have the option of sharing both files and databases. So this time, I'm going to select my Azure Data Lake Gen 2. And within my data lake, I have file systems, I have folders, and I have files, so I can share at any level that I like. So this time, I'm going to share a point of sales data folder with Joanna. After I verify my data sets are added, I can specify recipient. If you want to share the same data with multiple organizations, you can add recipient from multiple organizations. type your email address correctly?
You sure did.
Okay, next, snapshot schedule. So after you've created the share and it's being accepted by a data consumer, the best part is you do not need to continue to create your share in order to share your data with your partner. The most common use case we have heard from our customer are sharing of time series data. So you have data continuously coming in on a daily basis, and you want to make that available to your partner and customer. And with the snapshot schedule, data share service can automatically share your updates with the data consumer.
So Jaya, if I was a data provider and I wanted to create a new data share, but I didn't want to have to go in and create a new data share every single time I wanted to share with my customers, is it possible to do that?
Yeah, that's exactly what the snapshot schedule is supposed to do. So once you set up your snapshot schedule, all you need to do is continue to ingest data into your source data store, and it will just appear on the target size and once the snapshot happens. And also, we have some customers who want to be able to automate the whole sharing process. So what you're seeing here that I'm demonstrating in the UI, it's also available through API. So you can automate the entire process. So today, we support both daily and hourly snapshot. And I'm going to select daily and then continue to review everything and create. So this is really all you need to do as a data provider. Specify what data you want to share, who you want to share with, and how often and when you want to provide update to your data consumer. And what's happening now behind the scene is Azure Data Share Service is sending an invitation email to the recipient. So let me just show you a little bit more on the provider side. So you see that a share has been created in my Send Share section. And I can go to the invitation tab to see that there's an invitation pending for Joanna. Let me now switch to Joanna so that she can show you the consumer side of the flow.
Okay, so I'm now wearing the data consumer hat. So I'm the person that's actually receiving the data from Gia, from Consortium Marketplace. So the first thing that happens as a data consumer is that I actually receive an email in my inbox inviting me to a data share. Now, I do want to spend a little bit of time walking through this email because it has a lot of really useful information for potential customers of yours that may not be familiar with data share and may be new to Azure. So first of all, some of the interesting details of the email is the fact that I find out exactly which organization wants to share data with me. I can see the share name and what the description is of what that share actually contains. Now, if I was completely new to this, I do have some detailed instructions that I can follow on how to actually accept my data share and start receiving data. And if I was net new to Azure, then I could actually sign up for a free subscription by just clicking on Create a Free Azure Subscription. So it's super easy to get started. Now, once I click on View Invitation, that's going to take me to my Azure Data Share Invitations pane. So in this pane, once it loads, you'll see all of the pending invitations that I have for my data share. Now, you just saw Gia send me a data share invitation for some product data. And you can see here that I have that product data pending. So once I click on that invitation, I can see the number of data sets that she's trying to share with me, the company, also a description, and those terms of use that Gia referred to around what I need to agree to before I actually accept the data share. Now, I'm pretty happy with those terms of use, so I'm going to agree to them. And then here, all I need to do is specify a data share account that I want that data to land into. Now, I'm going to actually use an existing data share account, but if I was net new to this service, I could just go ahead and click on Create New, and I could just create a data share service from this pane as well. But for the purpose of this demo, I'm just going to use an existing data share account. Now, if I specify, I can actually leave the default received share name here, so product data, I can leave that, or I could also put something in that's more descriptive to me, like product data from Gia. Now here I've got two options. I can accept and configure my data share right now, or I can also say accept and configure later. So I'm actually going to say accept and configure later at this point, but if I did say select and configure now, that would just take me to a screen where I would then create, I would basically specify a destination for all the data that she's shared with me to land into. But I don't want to do that because you probably noticed that Gia actually added in data sets from 2 different types of Azure data stores. She added a data set from Azure Data Lake Store. She also added a data set from Azure SQL Data Warehouse. So I actually want those data sets to go into their own individual data stores. But if I wanted to, I could actually have them all land in the data lake. It's just really up to me. So I, as a customer, am completely in control. So if I go into data sets, I can click on the Azure Data Lake Gen 2 folder, and I would go ahead and say map to target. So once I select map to target, I'm presented with where I can actually land that data. So I want to put that point of sales data that she's sharing with me into my data lake. And then I can select a resource group that can land into and a storage account. So I'm going to just call the file system. So it's asking me for a file system name for this storage. I'm just going to call it Contoso product data. Okay, so once I say map to target, that's where that storage is going to land. So nothing has moved across just yet, so stay tuned. The next thing I'm going to do is map the product data to an existing Azure SQL environment. But I also wanted to show you that I could actually choose to map that data set into a data lake or into some, a SQL database rather than an Azure SQL data warehouse. So I've got a lot of choice. If I was to choose ADLS, then I actually can choose the format that I receive that data in. So if I wanted to, I can actually receive that data in CSV format, or I can receive it in Parquet. Now, when I've got a SQL DW data set being shared with me, I may actually want to use my Azure SQL Data Warehouse environment to create an external table and reason over that data using Polybase. That's an option that I have, but for the purpose of this demo, I'm just going to share that data into my Azure SQL DW. So what I'll show you now is my SQL, my Management Studio. So I'm going to actually land that data that Gia shared with me into my SQL DW called FabriProd. Right now, it doesn't have any tables in it, but it will soon. So I'm going to go ahead and select that SQL DW by going down into the resource group, selecting the SQL server, and I'm going to select FabriProd, which is that database that I just showed you. So here, you'll actually see that I was presented with a script that I would actually ordinarily need to run in my SQL DW environment in order to get this to work. The reason for that is because the Azure Data Share relies on managed identities for Azure services to authenticate to the underlying storage source. So I need to create a user from an external provider in order to allow for that MSI to authenticate on my behalf. So now that that's all set up, I'm now ready to start receiving data from Gia. So all I need to do is trigger a snapshot. Now you'll notice here there's 2 options. I can trigger a snapshot for a full copy, or I can trigger an incremental copy. So triggering a full copy will basically take everything, bring it into the respective environments that I've configured. Incremental will just copy the difference since the last full, but not currently for SQL. That's a feature that's coming soon. So once that data, so right now you can see that the last run status is queued. Once that data comes across, that will change to successful, and we should be able to see the data land in my storage account as well. If I want to double check where that data is going to go, I can see that that's going into my Fabricam Lake Contoso product data. So I can go into my Storage Explorer, and I can just refresh and see whether any data has started to come across. And you can see that that data has actually started to come across. And if I don't think it's gotten to the table copy just yet. Oh, yes, it has. So you can see that the product data has started to get copied, but we don't have a successful status just yet, so I'll wait until that's finished. Now, if I want to monitor the status of my data share as that copy is taking place, I can go into the History tab and I can click on the status. So when it's in progress, I can actually see some pretty useful information about it. So once that completes, I'll be able to see exactly how many rows came across and how many files were copied.
So Joanna, while we're waiting for the snapshot to happen, well, it's already coming up so quickly. Can you talk a little bit about and maybe show us how do we share data in a way that there's no exchange of credentials between data provider and data consumer?
Yeah, absolutely. So I spoke to you briefly earlier about this concept of having an MSI have permissions on the storage account. So those of you, has anybody actually tried Azure Data Share? Hands up. Okay, so a couple of you. So those of you who have tried it, you will have noticed that you do need to have some specific rights over the storage account in order to receive data into that storage account. You also need to have, and those rights are Azure Blob Storage Contributor and Azure Blob Storage Reader. So the MSI, or the data share MSI actually needs to have those permissions in your storage account. So they need to be allocated in your storage account. So the way that you actually check that that exists is you would go into your storage account and then just click into access control and then navigate down into, those of you who are paying attention, you may have noticed the name of my data share account is Fabricam Data Share. So if I actually go here, I can see that the storage blob data contributor has the permissions that I just described. So that's pretty important. And those of you who try our service, you'll notice that you do need to make sure that you do have the appropriate permissions. And that's really important because you don't just want anybody to share data from your organization. A lot of the time, the data that you're sharing is pretty sensitive data. So you don't want that to get into the wrong hands, and you want the right people to be sharing that data. So we now have a successful status run. So we know that that copy has been successful. If I go into the details pane, I can see that the last run status is succeeded. And I can see that that data has now landed. So this is the SQL DW environment, now called Azure Synapse Analytics. So I'm going to go ahead and query that table. And once I run that query, it's just basically selecting everything, and I should have the 606 rows that Gia shared with me, and lo and behold, there they are.
Great, thank you, Joanna. Switch back. Okay, so let me now switch back to the Contoso tenant to show you, as a data provider, what you can see in the Contoso environment. So after Joanna has accepted the share, if I go to my share subscription and refresh, I can see that a share subscription has been created for this particular share that I have sent to Joanna. I can also revoke access. If we're at the end of the contract, I no longer want to make data available to Joanna, and that will stop flow of any new data to Joanna's Azure tenant. I can add new recipients. So today, if you're sharing this data with one organization, tomorrow you want to share the same data with multiple organizations, you can continue to add recipients. You can view the list of your data sets. You can remove any data sets that you no longer want to share. You can also continue to add new data sets which you want to share with your data consumer. Also, very importantly, in the History tab, I see exactly the same information that Joanna is seeing in her consumer's Azure tenant. So I can see when data has been copied into which organization. I can click into the run status to view detail about which data set has been copied over, as well as the status of the copy. So here I can click on succeeded and see how many bytes, number of files that has been transferred. So as a data provider, you really have full visibility into what data you have shared, who you have shared data with, as well as when data has left your organization. And all this information is available in the diagnostic or activity log, so you can store that information and monitor and process it. Okay, so let's now switch back to the presentation. I'll let Joanna take you through some of the customer scenarios that we have seen.
Thanks, Gia. So you heard me speak earlier about wanting to talk to you about how our customers are actually using Azure Data Share. So probably one of the most common patterns that we're seeing in the market today is the need to do cross-organizational big data analytics and collaboration on that data. So the typical scenario that we see is data providers sharing with data consumers. Those data consumers can be somebody like say Coca-Cola, for example. They have multiple retailers that share their products, and they want to know how their products are tracking. So they're going to receive data from multiple different retailers, and they're going to basically need to reason over that data, perform some analytics to understand how their sales are going, to the success of their product. So this is probably the most common pattern that we're seeing. So why do they want to use data share? So people with that scenario want to use data share because it's easy to configure. There's no infrastructure to manage. You saw how easy it was for Gia to create a data share. In just a few clicks, she was able to share data with me. It's also a safe and secure way of sharing data. The nice thing about it is that you can actually share data with multiple organizations as well. And you can also perform incremental updates of time series data. So if you have data flowing through your environment and you want to keep your consumers up to date with the latest and greatest, data share is the right solution. So share data collected on behalf of a customer. So take the IoT, so service providers that specialize in deploying IoT devices to farms or to trucks or to buildings, all of those sorts of IoT examples that we see in the marketplace today. They are basically tasked with the ability to deploy those sensors, but also they need to share that data back with those people. So if you are somebody that has IoT sensors deployed in their buildings, you may want to have a service provider that deploys those IoT sensors, gets that data for you, and then shares it back to you either in raw form or with insights, depending on the type of service provider they are. That's another really common use case. So in that scenario, you would want to use data share for both hot and cold data stores from different Azure data stores. And the nice thing is that you can do that in snapshot or in-place sharing modes. Now, another really popular scenario that we hear is analytics outsourcing. So somebody that's an expert in their field, so just say in the healthcare industry, or really any industry that isn't necessarily a technology company that isn't specialized in analytics, they may want to actually outsource their data to an analytics provider that can actually derive insights from the data that's being shared with them. So in that scenario, they would share data with that analytics outsourcer. They would do their analytics, run their Databricks workloads or their AI and ML workloads, and then share that data back with the data provider in that scenario. So that's a very, very common scenario that we're seeing in the market today. Another one that we're seeing is organizations that want to establish industry-specific data consortiums. So if you think about a data consortium, and a good example would be in the healthcare space. So an organization that's actually collecting data, say it's for pharmaceutical trials, and there's a lot of different institutions that are trying to work together to cure, say, a disease. So there's different members of this consortium that are collecting data that's going to be useful to the entire consortium. So they all have this central source of truth that they share to. And they also share amongst each other. So that's another example of the uptake of data share that we're seeing as well. So the nice thing about that's particularly relevant to data consortium is that you have that nice central point of one central pane to manage all of your data sharing relationships. So it's very easy to see through a dashboard who you're sharing with, when you shared with them, and what you shared with them. So Gia, do you want to talk to us a little bit about some examples of the data marketplace scenarios that we're seeing?
Sure, Joanna. So last but not least, we have customers who are in the market, and their business is to sell data, and they have their own data marketplace. We also have customers who start to collect more and more data, and they're thinking about how can I monetize my data. So in both cases, we start seeing our customer trying to sell that data and then use data share service as a way for data distribution. So talk about a marketplace use case. On the data provider side, they will be creating like a website where they list all their data products, and their customer will first come in, browse all these different data products, and select and purchase the data that they're interested in. And then the data provider will be using the Data Share API to automate the process of distributing the data to their customer's Azure tenant. So the reason why they're using data share is because they want to share data in an efficient way to share bulk data with their customers, and they want to be able to automate the whole process of creating the share and sharing through an API rather than do it in a manual way. So just want to mention one customer, Finastra. Who's in the financial industry here? Okay, a few of them. We actually have a number of financial customers using the data share service. Finastra is one of them. So they're one of the world's leading fintechs. They are currently integrating data share service with their Fusion Fabric Cloud to provide distribution of premium data sets to a wider ecosystem of application developers across the fintech value chain. So they use data share service to unlock new revenue stream for them and also to reduce the go-to-market timeframe. So here's a quote from Finastra's Chief Product and Technology Officer. Our decision to integrate Azure Data Share with Finastra's Fusion Fabric Cloud platform is now a great way to further accelerate innovation via an expanded open ecosystem. Okay, this is all we want to talk about today. So for next step, here are some of the resources for your reference. You can find more information about the data share service on our product webpage and in our documentation. If you're interested in Azure Data Explorer in-place sharing, this capability is currently in preview, and you can sign up for the preview via this link here. And for the rest of the capability sharing from blob storage, ADL's Gen 2, SQL Data Warehouse, you can access it directly in Azure portal today. So I encourage you to give it a try. And if you have some friends or you have some colleagues who have missed today's fabulous session, we have another session, a 20-minute theater session coming up tomorrow at 4:55 in the Hub Theater 5. So I encourage you to spread the word and have them come attend that session to learn more about Azure Data Share.
We love to take questions now, so if you'd like to walk up to the microphones and we can take any questions that you have. Please.
Would you like to use the
mic?
mic? So for HDI, depending on what data source it's using, if it's already using blob storage or databases as a data store, you can share from the blob storage or data lake or databases today.
If you look at HDI Hive tables, it's very difficult to, if you look on the blob storage side, difficult to find out which Hive table maps to which containers.
Mm-hmm.
So if you need to share data from a particular Hive table, for example,
Okay.
it's stable on HBase, it's always easy to get that data from the GUI rather than getting into the storage layer and trying to find out which container has that data.
Got it.
If you're interested in that feature and you have a use case, please reach out to us. We'd love to kind of dive a little deeper into that because I haven't heard that requirement before. So, yeah. Thank you, though.
Yeah.
Hi.
Go ahead.
So for a user that already has a read privilege to a particular storage account, is there any other control or approval or governance on the ability for that user to then share that data externally using this?
Yeah, so they will need to have pretty granular permissions. So if you're the data provider that's sharing, then you will actually need to be an owner of that storage account. There is an action that you can be assigned, but that you couldn't do through the APIs. So it is pretty high level of privilege that you need to share to begin with. So from that perspective, that governance is there.
But it's still just on the storage account, it's just read for the storage account?
Oh, if they only have read permissions?
Well, what is it? And it's just on the storage account, though. I can see a scenario where data scientists are overly enthusiastic about sharing their data. and may not really go through the proper anonymization or any, maybe reach out to anybody if they are the custodian of their data.
Yeah.
It's quite different than sharing it externally.
Yeah, so I do have an answer for you, but let's talk after this because I'd like to have a conversation under NDA around that subject. Yeah.
Any other questions? Yeah.
So I forget the name of the, there's a feature in SQL Server 2016 where fields containing potentially sensitive information, say social security numbers, are query obfuscated or encrypted so they can't be viewed from within even query analyzer. Is that feature going to apply to this data store? I noticed you're using query analyzer to query the data that was transferred over.
Yeah, we are working with SQL team for always encrypted and the use cases that you're talking about, and also the Azure information protection on how to share data when certain fields of the data needs to be obscured. We can probably talk more to see how to support that kind of scenario. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, so I have two questions. Is in-place access already available for SQL and SQL Data Warehouse as well, or not yet?
Not currently.
Do you have any idea what sort of time frame that will be available?
We hope it's soon. We don't have an exact time at the moment, but it's something that we are definitely thinking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Also, just before we move on to your next question, if it's something you're interested in, please make sure you reach out to us. We always want to hear more about your scenario, specifically if it's, data, Azure SQL DB versus DW, what you're trying to do, and get more understanding around
Okay,
that.
sure.
Yeah.
And the other question was, you have to do the confirmation manually, or like the use case we have is that we deploy resources to a CSP tenant for a customer, where we load their data into that tenant, and we have data warehousing on our side for our analytics purposes. And ideally, I did automate the whole street without having to do manual, invites and stuff in between.
Yeah, so all the things that you're seeing in the UI, to create share, to accept share, these can all be automated through API. So it doesn't have to be done manually. And in the user experience or the demo we have shown, we've been sharing data to an email address. Through the API, you can even share to service principal and tenant ID combination. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Great.
Hi, I apologize if I missed at the early part of the session. I came in late, but are the egress fees always associated to the data providers? Whether they
Yes.
want to land it in the recipient's tenant or whether they want to just access it directly, it always hits the data provider, right?
That's right, yeah. The provider pays. So the consumer only pays for the storage that lands in their storage or SQL environments. Yeah. Cool. Are there any more questions? If there are no more questions, thank you so much for attending our session. Please make sure you fill out your evals, say nice things, get in contact with us, and thanks for coming.
Thank you.